Have you ever found yourself caught in a moment where someone's words pierced you like a dagger? Perhaps it wasn't the intensity of the insult itself, but the way it clung to your mind, replaying over and over, evoking a mix of anger, humiliation, or even self-doubt. In such moments, it's tempting to react impulsively, to hurl back a sharp response, or let emotions dictate your behavior. But what if there were another way, one rooted in wisdom, composure, and self-mastery? Imagine standing amidst a fierce storm, holding a fragile lantern. The winds howl, the rain lashes, and every step feels precarious. But instead of cursing the storm or fighting the wind, you steady your hand, protect the light, and keep moving forward. This is what responding to an insult with stoic grace feels like. A refusal to let the chaos outside extinguish the peace within. For those who seek to grow, to develop an unshakable mind, responding to insults isn't merely about handling conflict. It's about cultivating inner strength. The Stoics, masters of emotional resilience, believe that external events are beyond our control, but how we respond defines our character. They taught that insults, like the storms of life, can either knock us down or offer an opportunity to rise above. In this article, we will explore timeless Stoic strategies to confront insults with poise, wisdom, and dignity. Whether you face criticism at work, mockery from peers, or even personal attacks from strangers, these principles will guide you toward mastering your reactions. With practice, you'll learn to guard your inner peace, letting neither praise nor provocation sway your equilibrium. Grab a seat, take a deep breath, and prepare to embrace the storm, not by fighting it, but by walking through it with calm resolve. Let's dive in. 1. Pause before reacting. Have you ever noticed how quickly emotions flare when faced with an insult? A snide remark, a sarcastic jab, or a dismissive glance can ignite a fire within you, tempting you to respond in kind. It's in these moments of provocation that most people lose control, not because the insult itself is powerful, but because they surrender to the impulse of reaction. Stoicism, however, offers a different path. Pause, reflect, and reclaim your power. When someone insults us, the natural instinct is to retaliate, to protect our ego from perceived harm. But reacting impulsively often yields nothing but regret. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This pause, a brief moment of stillness before reacting, creates a vital space where clarity can flourish and emotions lose their grip. Consider the story of a young scholar named Athenias, who was frequently mocked for his unconventional ideas by his peers. One day, during a heated debate, someone hurled an insult meant to provoke him. Instead of lashing out, Athenias remained silent for a moment, allowing the initial surge of emotion to subside. He then responded with calm reason, offering a thoughtful argument rather than an emotional reaction. His composed demeanor left his peers both surprised and impressed. That single pause shifted the entire dynamic, turning hostility into respect. Pausing before reacting is not a sign of weakness. It's a mark of inner mastery. In that brief silence, you regain control over yourself rather than letting someone else's words dictate your behavior. Think of it as standing by a turbulent river. You could jump in and be swept away by the current of anger, or you could stand firm on the bank, observing the chaos but remaining unshaken. So how can you cultivate this pause in your daily life? First, breathe through the moment. When you feel the sting of an insult, take a slow, deliberate breath. This simple act activates your rational mind and reduces the intensity of your emotional reaction. Next, reframe the situation. Ask yourself, what's truly at stake here? Is it my peace or my ego that's wounded? Most insults are fleeting and don't deserve the energy we often give them. Finally, embrace silence when necessary. Not every insult requires a response. Sometimes, the most powerful reply is none at all, a dignified silence that conveys strength and self-control far more effectively than words ever could. By practicing the art of pausing before reacting, you begin to free yourself from the control of external events. You transform moments of provocation into opportunities for growth. The next time someone seeks to provoke you, take a deep breath, pause, and remind yourself, my peace is not theirs to command. In doing so, you elevate above the fray, embodying the Stoic ideal of calm strength in the face of adversity. 2. Reframe the insult. Insults, by their very nature, strike at the heart of our sense of self. It's easy to take them personally, to feel as though someone has attacked our worth or integrity. But Stoicism teaches us a profound truth. An insult only holds the power we give it. If we change how we view it, we strip it of its sting, transforming what could have been a source of pain into an opportunity for wisdom and composure. At its core, reframing an insult means shifting your perspective. Rather than seeing it as a personal attack, consider it a reflection of the insulter's character, not your own. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In other words, the negativity in an insult is often a projection of the insulter's inner turmoil, not an accurate assessment of who you are. Recognizing this allows you to detach emotionally and remain grounded in your own sense of self. Picture a scenario. A philosopher named Dion was once mocked publicly by a fellow scholar for his simple lifestyle. The crowd expected Dion to react with indignation, but instead, he smiled and said, "You see poverty, but I see freedom." His response reframed the insult entirely, turning what was meant to belittle him into a statement of pride in his values. In that moment, the insult lost its power, and Dion's calm confidence elevated him above petty ridicule. Reframing an insult requires both emotional awareness and mental discipline. The next time someone insults you, pause and ask yourself, is this about me? Or is it about them? Most of the time, you'll realize that their words reveal more about their struggles and insecurities than about your flaws. By interpreting the insult as a window into their character, rather than a mirror reflecting your worth, you create emotional distance. This shift in perspective also frees you from unnecessary conflict. When you no longer feel the need to defend yourself against every slight, you conserve your energy for what truly matters. Reframing doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means choosing how you interpret it. It's the difference between seeing a storm as a threat or as a challenge to endure with grace. Ultimately, reframing insults allows you to rise above the emotional tug of conflict and maintain your peace. It's about recognizing that while you can't control what others say, you have complete control over how you perceive and respond to their words. The next time someone throws an insult your way, remember, their words reveal their character, not yours. In this light, the insult becomes meaningless, a gust of wind that cannot unsettle the unshakable fortress of your mind. 3. Choose silence over words. In moments of conflict, the urge to speak can be overwhelming. Words seem like our best defense, sharp enough to cut through insults, quick enough to assert dominance. Yet, as the Stoics understood, words can also become traps, dragging us into unnecessary battles and fueling the very conflict we wish to avoid. Silence, on the other hand, is a profound demonstration of strength. It communicates dignity, self-mastery, and an unyielding control over one's emotions. When insulted, silence may feel counterintuitive, even weak. Our instinct is to retaliate, to prove ourselves right, or to shield our ego from harm. But silence, when chosen deliberately, becomes an act of defiance. By refusing to engage in petty verbal sparring, you strip the insulter of their power. As Marcus Aurelius observed, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Silence allows you to react in a way that reflects wisdom, not emotion. Consider the story of Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism. During a public lecture, a heckler interrupted him repeatedly, trying to provoke a reaction. Instead of responding with irritation, Zeno paused, smiled, and continued teaching as though the heckler didn't exist. His silence didn't merely avoid the conflict. It demonstrated a higher level of composure, one that left the heckler frustrated and the audience deeply impressed by his calm demeanor. Zeno's silence wasn't passive. It was purposeful, a tool to rise above provocations. Choosing silence over words requires practice and self-awareness. It's not about suppressing your voice indefinitely, but about discerning when speech would serve a higher purpose and when it would only serve to escalate tension. Silence, in this context, is not weakness but wisdom. It's knowing that not every battle is worth fighting. How can you master the art of silence? First, pause and breathe when provoked. In that brief moment, remind yourself that silence can often convey more than words ever could. By not reacting, you maintain control over your emotions, keeping your peace intact. Second, detach from the need to win. Most verbal battles stem from pride, a desire to prove oneself right or superior. Ask yourself, am I protecting my peace or my ego? More often than not, it's the latter. Finally, let your actions speak. In many situations, your character and actions will communicate far more effectively than any retort. Silence paired with dignity and consistent integrity disarms insults more powerfully than heated words. Epictetus, another prominent Stoic philosopher, taught that if someone criticizes you, it is not the person or their words that disturb you, but your judgment about what they've said. Silence, therefore, is not just about withholding speech, it's about withholding judgment. It's a conscious decision to rise above the noise, to stay anchored in your values rather than swept away by fleeting provocations. By choosing silence over words, you cultivate a deeper sense of peace. You learn to respond with wisdom rather than emotion, and in doing so, you protect your dignity. The next time someone seeks to provoke you, remember, silence is not surrender, it's sovereignty. It's a reminder to yourself and to others that your inner world cannot be shaken by mere words. And in that quiet strength, you find true power. 4. Detach emotionally. When faced with an insult, the immediate emotional reaction is often unavoidable. Anger, hurt, or even indignation rushes to the surface. It's natural to feel wounded by harsh words, especially when they seem intended to attack your sense of self. But here's the truth. Insults only have power over you if you allow them to. Emotional detachment, a core principle of Stoicism, is the key to maintaining inner peace amidst external turbulence. Detaching emotionally doesn't mean becoming indifferent or cold. It means learning to control your response so that your emotions no longer dictate your actions. Stoicism teaches us that we are not disturbed by events themselves, but by how we interpret them. Epictetus wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." An insult is only harmful if you internalize it, if you allow someone else's words to define your worth. Emotional detachment means recognizing that another person's words reflect their inner state, not yours. In this way, you protect your sense of self from being shaped by the fleeting opinions of others. Consider the story of a merchant named Cleon, known for his patience and steady demeanor. One day, while negotiating in the marketplace, a rival attempted to humiliate him in front of a crowd by mocking his modest attire. Instead of reacting with anger or shame, Cleon calmly smiled and replied, "Thank you for noticing. I prefer simplicity. It frees me to focus on what truly matters." His response, devoid of emotion, turned the insult into an empty gesture, leaving the rival embarrassed and the crowd impressed. Cleon's strength came not from indifference, but from his ability to detach emotionally, refusing to give someone else control over his state of mind. Detaching emotionally begins with self-awareness. The next time you feel the sting of an insult, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, is this insult truly about me, or is it about the person delivering it? More often than not, you'll find that it's rooted in the insulter's insecurities or frustrations. By shifting your perspective in this way, you create distance between yourself and the insult, making it easier to respond with composure. Another crucial step is separating fact from emotion. Many insults are exaggerated or baseless, designed to provoke rather than offer constructive feedback. Recognizing this helps you avoid reacting impulsively and instead respond with clarity. Additionally, focusing on what you can control reinforces emotional detachment. You can't control the behavior or words of others, but you can control your own mindset and actions. Direct your energy toward preserving your peace rather than engaging in pointless conflict. Detaching emotionally doesn't mean that you ignore all criticism or disengage from reality. It means that you refuse to let negativity infiltrate your inner world. It's about creating a mental shield, one that protects your well-being while allowing you to remain present and thoughtful. In this way, you cultivate a mindset that is unshaken by external chaos. The next time someone hurls an insult your way, pause and remind yourself, their words can only harm me if I choose to let them. Let the insult roll off like water on stone, leaving you calm, centered, and in control. By mastering emotional detachment, you reclaim your inner strength, ensuring that no one else holds the reins to your peace. And in doing so, you embody the very essence of Stoic philosophy, rising above the noise of the world to live a life rooted in tranquility and purpose. 5. See it as a test. Life, in many ways, is a series of tests, some explicit, others hidden beneath the fabric of everyday interactions. Insults, while unpleasant, are one such test. They challenge not just your composure, but also your ability to remain grounded in the face of provocation. The Stoics believe that life's adversities, including insults, serve as opportunities to cultivate virtue. Rather than viewing them as threats to your dignity, see them as tests of your inner strength, your patience, and your commitment to personal growth. When someone insults you, the natural reaction is to defend yourself or retaliate. This reaction, however, often stems from wounded pride rather than genuine necessity. Stoicism invites us to reframe such moments. What if, instead of reacting impulsively, you paused and saw the insult as a chance to practice resilience? As Seneca observed, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor strengthens the body. In this sense, an insult becomes a mental weight, an exercise that, when handled correctly, fortifies your character. Imagine a young man named Lucius who aspired to embody the Stoic virtues of patience and humility. One day, while presenting a project to his peers, a colleague interrupted him with harsh criticism, intended to belittle his efforts. For a brief moment, Lucius felt the familiar surge of indignation rise within him, but instead of reacting emotionally, he paused. He reminded himself that this was a test, a chance to demonstrate patience and maintain his composure. With a calm demeanor, he thanked his colleague for the feedback and continued with his presentation. His response not only diffused the tension, but also earned the respect of his audience, who admired his ability to remain unshaken. Seeing insults as tests requires a shift in mindset. It's about recognizing that your primary goal isn't to prove your worth to others, but to prove your strength to yourself. The true test is internal. Can you remain composed when provoked? Can you resist the temptation to react impulsively? When you view insults as tests, they lose their power to harm you. Instead, they become stepping stones toward greater mastery over your emotions. To apply this perspective in real life, start by pausing before you react. In that pause, remind yourself that this moment is an opportunity to grow. Ask yourself, How can I use this situation to strengthen my patience and humility? This simple question shifts your focus from the insulter's intent to your own development. Next, respond with calmness, if a response is necessary at all. The goal isn't to defeat the insulter, but to master your emotions. A measured, composed response not only maintains your dignity, but also sets a powerful example for others. Finally, find the lesson. Every insult carries the potential for introspection. Is it revealing a sensitivity you need to work on? Is it an invitation to practice letting go of pride? Treat each insult as a chance to refine your character. When you start seeing insults as tests, they no longer feel like personal attacks. They become exercises in self-mastery, challenges that, when met with wisdom, leave you stronger and more centered. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Insults, then, are not obstacles to your peace but pathways to deeper resilience. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, pause and think, this is my test. How will I pass it? Rise above the moment, not by engaging in conflict, but by demonstrating the strength of your character. In doing so, you not only pass the test but also grow closer to becoming the person you aspire to be, calm, resilient, and unshakable. 6. Let go of the ego. When someone insults us, why does it sting so deeply? More often than not, it's because our ego feels threatened. The desire to defend ourselves, to prove our worth, or to retaliate arises not from genuine necessity, but from the ego's fragile need for validation. Yet, as Stoicism teaches, the ego is a false construct, one that thrives on external approval and crumbles under criticism. By learning to let go of the ego, we free ourselves from the grip of insults and gain a profound sense of inner peace. The Stoics viewed the ego as an obstacle to true wisdom and growth. Epictetus warned, if you are ever tempted to look for outside approval, realize that you have compromised your integrity. When you allow an insult to disturb your peace, it's because your ego has mistakenly tied your self-worth to someone else's opinion. But when you detach from the ego, you understand that your value is intrinsic. It doesn't rise or fall based on praise or criticism. Imagine a craftsman named Thales, renowned for his skill in woodworking. One day, a rival mocked his work, calling it crude and uninspired in front of potential clients. The crowd turned to see Thales's reaction, expecting anger or defensiveness. Instead, Thales smiled and continued his task, saying, I make for those who appreciate the craft, not for those who seek to belittle it. His response, free from ego, not only preserved his peace, but also elevated his dignity. He understood that his work spoke for itself, and no insult could diminish its value unless he allowed it to. Letting go of the ego requires constant practice and self-awareness. It begins with acknowledging that insults only have power when your ego feels the need to protect itself. The next time someone criticizes you, pause and reflect. Am I reacting to protect my peace or to defend my pride? By distinguishing between the two, you can choose a response that aligns with your inner values rather than your ego's fleeting desires. Another way to let go of the ego is to detach from the need for validation. Understand that you don't need everyone's approval to live a fulfilling life. The Stoics believe that true freedom comes from within. When you no longer rely on external validation to feel whole, you become unshakable. Whether praised or insulted, your sense of self remains intact because it isn't tethered to the opinions of others. Finally, cultivate humility. Letting go of the ego doesn't mean belittling yourself. It means recognizing that your worth isn't diminished by someone's negative words. Humility allows you to remain grounded, to see insults as reflections of others rather than mirrors of yourself. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Letting go of the ego grants you that strength. the power to stay calm, centered, and free. The next time someone hurls an insult at you, pause and ask yourself, is my peace worth sacrificing for the sake of my ego? More often than not, the answer will be no. Letting go of the ego isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of true strength, the kind that comes from knowing who you are and refusing to be shaken by fleeting provocations. When you no longer react to defend your pride, you reclaim control over your mind and emotions, ensuring that your peace remains yours alone. In that detachment lies the essence of Stoic mastery, the freedom to live according to your values, unbound by the judgments of others. 7. Turn the insult into a compliment. In the face of an insult, most people instinctively recoil, feeling the need to defend or retaliate. But Stoicism offers a more empowering approach. Transform the insult into an opportunity, turn it into a compliment. By doing so, you not only disarm the insulter but also demonstrate unshakable confidence, humor, and grace. This response shifts the dynamic entirely, leaving the provocateur speechless and reinforcing your inner strength. To turn an insult into a compliment, you must first detach from its emotional sting. As Marcus Aurelius taught, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. When you refuse to let someone's negative words dictate your self-perception, you remain in control. Instead of absorbing the insult, you reinterpret it in a way that affirms your values. This act of reframing isn't just clever. It's a profound exercise in mental mastery, reminding you that no one's words can diminish your worth unless you allow them to. Picture a philosopher named Lycaon, who was often criticized for being meticulous and detail-oriented in his work. One day, during a public forum, someone sneered, "Lycaon, you're so obsessed with perfection that you'll never finish anything worthwhile." Without missing a beat, Lycaon smiled and replied, "Thank you. I take pride in striving for excellence, even if it takes time." His calm, witty response turned what was meant to belittle him into a testament to his dedication. The crowd, expecting tension, instead witnessed a display of composure and self-assuredness. This ability to turn an insult into a compliment is not merely about quick wit. It's about maintaining your inner balance and refusing to be drawn into negativity. By reframing an insult positively, you demonstrate that your confidence comes from within, not from external validation. It shows the world and yourself that you are beyond the reach of petty provocations. How can you practice this in daily life? First, stay calm and composed. When insulted, resist the urge to react emotionally. A calm mind is more capable of finding the humor or positive spin in the situation. Next, reframe the insult by identifying its underlying quality. For example, if someone calls you stubborn, reinterpret it as being determined or steadfast. If they say you're quiet, frame it as being thoughtful or a good listener. This subtle shift transforms the insult into something positive, reflecting your values. Finally, respond with light-hearted humor. A well-placed, humorous response not only diffuses tension, but also demonstrates that you are unbothered by the attempt to offend. It shows that you are in control and nothing, not even harsh words, can disrupt your peace. Epictetus once said, "No one can harm you unless you allow it." By turning insults into compliments, you embody this principle, showing that you refuse to be a victim of anyone's words. Instead, you use every insult as an opportunity to reinforce your inner strength and confidence. The next time someone tries to bring you down with an insult, pause, smile, and ask yourself, how can I turn this into a strength? Respond with poise, wit, and a touch of humor, and watch as the power dynamic shifts in your favor. In that moment, you'll not only rise above the insult, but also inspire those around you to do the same. This is the Stoic way, not to fight negativity with more negativity, but to transform it into something that uplifts rather than diminishes. And when you master this art, you'll find that insults no longer have the power to wound, only the potential to elevate. 8. Respond with kindness. Responding to hostility with kindness may seem counterintuitive. After all, when someone insults you, your immediate instinct might be to protect yourself, to strike back, or to prove them wrong. Yet, Stoicism teaches us that true strength lies not in retaliation, but in maintaining control over our emotions. When you choose to respond with kindness, you rise above the negativity, disarming the insulter and preserving your peace. Kindness, in this context, is not a weakness but a conscious act of self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." When you respond to an insult with calm and kindness, you show that your character isn't dictated by someone else's behavior. You communicate, through your actions, that you are in control, that their negativity holds no sway over your state of mind. In doing so, you shift the focus away from conflict and onto your own integrity. Consider the story of Demetrius, a well-respected teacher known for his composed demeanor. One day, during a public lecture, a disgruntled attendee loudly accused him of being ignorant and incompetent. Instead of reacting with anger or indignation, Demetrius paused, smiled gently, and replied, "Thank you for sharing your thoughts. If there is truth in your words, I will reflect on it and learn. If not, I hope you find peace." His response, delivered with genuine kindness, left the accuser speechless and earned Demetrius even greater respect. By choosing kindness, he maintained his dignity and defused a potentially hostile situation. Responding with kindness requires a high degree of self-awareness and emotional discipline. It's about recognizing that your goal isn't to win an argument, but to protect your peace and demonstrate your values. The next time you are insulted, pause and ask yourself, am I defending my ego, or am I staying true to who I am? This simple reflection can help you choose a response that reflects strength, not weakness. Kindness, when practiced in moments of conflict, becomes a powerful tool for emotional resilience. It not only protects you from being consumed by anger, but also sets an example for those around you. As Seneca observed, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." Even in the face of insults, you have the power to choose a response that aligns with your values, rather than your fleeting emotions. By responding with kindness, you free yourself from the burden of hostility. You refuse to let someone else's negativity dictate your behavior, and in doing so, you maintain your inner peace. The next time someone seeks to provoke you, remember, their words are not a reflection of you but of themselves. Choose kindness, not for their sake, but for your own. In that choice, you embody the essence of Stoic wisdom, rising above the storm, untouchable and serene. Conclusion: insults are an inevitable part of life, but how we respond to them defines who we are. Stoicism teaches us that external events, including the words and opinions of others, are beyond our control. What we can control, however, is our reaction. By choosing calm over chaos, grace over aggression, and wisdom over impulse, we cultivate a mindset that is both resilient and unshakable. Each insult becomes an opportunity, not to defend our ego, but to strengthen our character. Mastering the art of responding to insults is more than just a defense mechanism. It's a path toward greater emotional freedom. It teaches us to prioritize our inner peace over fleeting conflicts and to view challenges as lessons in self-mastery. Whether through pausing, reframing, or responding with kindness, each technique draws us closer to the Stoic ideal of a life guided by reason, virtue, and tranquility. Remember, no one else has the power to disturb your peace unless you give them permission. You can't always control what others say or do, but you can control your response. And in that lies true strength, the kind that no insult can ever take away. If this message resonates with you, and if you're someone who values personal growth, ancient wisdom, and practical philosophy, consider joining us on this journey toward a more Stoic life. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and be part of a community that seeks to grow stronger, wiser, and more composed with every challenge life presents. Thank you for watching, and may you continue to find strength in calm, clarity in adversity, and peace in the face of provocation. Until next time, stay grounded, stay stoic,